Hey, what's up everyone, Raging Golden Eagle here, having way too much fun as always. And it's about time we go back to the good news. And believe me, this is going to be excellent news for those of you out there who are fans of old dead MMOs and are stuck playing on buggy private servers. Because it appears that the US Copyright Office is doing something right for a change, and is apparently considering a rule change that would loosen the restrictions governing emulations and reproductions of abandoned online games. And damn, this is good news and actually pretty important. Because when you actually look into it, right now even they already have a bunch of exemptions for what's basically considered abandonware. Specifically when it comes to organizations like museums for instance. But when it comes to online-only games and especially MMOs, which you can't really play unless you have a server, even museums and libraries and archives and the like have been SOL. But maybe not for much longer. Last year, it turns out several of these organizations, including the nonprofit Museum of Art and Digital Entertainment, filed a request that the US Copyright Office broaden its exceptions to include online games that have been shut down by their publishers. This would include MMORPGs such as Star Wars Galaxies and City of Heroes. Both of those games still have passionate fan bases, but they are no longer playable due to the fact that the service shut down several years ago. Excellent. It only makes logical sense, doesn't it? I mean, if the company shut the game down anyway, could it really even be considered stealing at that point? And well, a little bit further down this article, we actually do get into what the game industry has to say about this. And okay, I'm not gonna lie. The ESA's response is probably the major reason I'm doing a video on this article. But either way, I'm sure you guys have heard these companies countless times when attempting to rationalize their draconic copyright protections. Say something like, oh, see, we actually don't have a problem with any of that, but the way copyright laws are, if we don't protect our copyright in every case, then we're gonna lose it, so we have to do this. We have to keep filing all these BS cease and desists and frivolous lawsuits. Otherwise, we'd be fine. Yeah, bullshit, as you're about to find out. The Entertainment Software Association, which represents major players in the video game industry such as Electronic Arts, Nintendo, and others, has come out in opposition to this request. I wonder why. The ESA argues that extending the DMCA exemptions to online games would be a step too far. Really? It would be? What else could you possibly complain about? You're not being forced to keep up servers for dead games and lose money. What reason could you possibly have to try to stop this? We're gonna get into that here shortly actually. But first, the proponents characterize these as slight modifications to the existing exemptions. However, they are nothing of the sort. The proponents request permission to engage in forms of circumvention that will enable the complete recreation of a hosted video game service environment and make the video game available for play by a public audience. Well, duh! This is literally the same thing that happens when they host Abandonware and share it with everybody. They are enabling the complete recreation of the entire video game and making it playable by a public audience. That's literally the whole point. So again, what is the problem? What issue do you guys really have? Well, they actually get to it, and oh god is this hilarious. The ESA further argues that allowing the hosting of servers would allow gamers to fully play these games for free, which could be seen as a form of competition with their existing titles. Well, there you go. There's the real reason why so many publishers try to bury their old games if they can, even the single-player ones. Don't kid yourself there. If they had the power to take away the single-player games like they do with their MMOs, they would in a heartbeat. Because even if it's just at a subconscious level, they know that the shit they're putting out now can't compare to the stuff they did in the past. Case in point, take a look at Blizzard, which recently shut down the Nostalgia server, which for those of you who don't know was a World of Warcraft vanilla private server, that they were actually advancing and making modifications to. Because while the player base of normal World of Warcraft hosted by Blizzard has been plummeting, Nostalgia was on the way up. And they've been forced to admit this too, because despite saying they're never gonna do it for years, Blizzard finally caved and announced their vanilla servers. See, at least they are playing it up the smart way. Even if what they currently put out can't compete with what they used to put out, they at least went, okay fine, we'll make what we used to put out available again and you can pay us for that instead. But all these other companies, why don't you just do the same thing if you're so concerned about the competition? If having Star Wars Galaxies back is such a huge threat to, say, Knights of the Old Republic, First off, maybe you should reflect on why that is. And second off, maybe you should just bring back Star Wars Galaxies? Just a thought. But anyway, on a final note, if nothing else, this just exemplifies that the ESA is in fact the Entertainment Software Association. They are the mouthpiece of the AAA game industry. They don't give a shit about the consumer. It's the industry they represent, and it's the industry they fight for. And I gotta say, it's shit like this and their stance on loot boxes that will make me not shed a single tear when they get owned in this case. Hopefully anyway. There hasn't been a decision made as of the recording of this video, but this is definitely something to be looking out for. Not like it's gonna affect those of you who've been playing on private servers all these years anyway, but at least if this goes through, the private servers won't have to constantly be hiding and playing all sorts of dubious legal tricks. So hopefully we're gonna be seeing these changes sooner rather than later. That's all I gotta say, guys. Thanks for listening.